Hey, it's Candace, and I'm calling women higher. My goal is to empower you to become the woman that you are meant to be and live a life that you love. I am so glad that you're here, so let's dive in. Welcome back, friends. I am so grateful that you're here today. So this episode, we're going to talk about self-compassion and we're going to talk about self-awareness. So self-compassion is actually not something that a lot of people have. Compassion is a skill that a lot of people have. They just don't use it on themselves. And so today, I'm going to walk you through why that's so important and how to get to a place where you can hold compassion for yourself. Self-compassion is having a level of compassion for yourself in the same way that you would for others. So think about it this way. Your friend comes and tells you about a situation where maybe they messed up or they made the wrong choice or they're just feeling really down. You would comfort them. You would reassure them that this isn't the end of the world. Mistakes happen. People make mistakes. It's okay. Tomorrow's a new day. And you would comfort them and have that compassion for them. Hold a place of empathy for everything that they have going on. But when it comes to you having a situation where you messed up or you made a mistake or you made a bad decision, chances are you're beating yourself up. Because that's what we do as humans. We knock ourselves down. We're our harshest critic. We just catastrophize everything that just happened. Man, I always do this. I'm so dumb. All of these bad things that we just tell ourselves and we knock ourselves down. But we would never say that to a friend. Check this out. I actually learned this on a podcast. And it was talking about a research study where there was like 10 women. And the researcher was like, I want you to write down everything that you tell yourself all throughout the day. So these women are writing and they're writing and they're writing and they're writing. They're writing all of the things that they tell themselves when they're in front of the mirror. You got acne on your face. You got wrinkles. You're too heavy. Your skin looks gross. You're not worthy. You spend money recklessly. And they were furiously just scribbling away with all of the things that they tell themselves. So then he said, okay, great. Everyone finished. They were done writing. He said, I want you to call your daughter, your niece, your sister, and I want you to say all of those things to her. And all of the women paused, and then they were appalled, and they were like, no way, I'm not doing that. I would never say that stuff to any of those people in my life. And the researcher was like, that's the point. That's what I mean. Because if we're not going to say these things to other people because they're hurtful, because they're rude, because of whatever it is, then why are we saying them to ourselves? And so these habits, because that's essentially what it is. It's a habit. You have a habit of talking down to yourself. You have a habit of criticizing yourself. These habits are not formed overnight. They are formed through, if you go back to one of my previous videos, the stories that we tell ourselves. They're formed through how other people have spoken to us. They're formed through how other people have spoken to themselves. Chances are, if you're criticizing yourself in the mirror, it's because you saw someone criticize themselves in the mirror, and that's just a habit that you picked up. And so what's good about that is that habits can change and habits can be broken. But that comes from building self-awareness. So when we think about self-awareness, it is so important for everything that we're doing in life. But the tricky part is most of us lack self-awareness because we're actually too busy thinking. And in 2023, there is a lot to think about. We have to-do lists, we have schedules, we have all kinds of social medias and alerts that are blasting us. So you're over here thinking about your to-do list and what's for dinner, and then you have a kid run up and tell you all the things that are going on, and then you get a text message and you got all that, and then you probably have a work phone if you're anything like me, and then you got that blowing up, and so there is just constant stuff, and you're constantly in a state of reaction, but there's no opportunity to have a self-awareness when your brain is too full. And so what's really important about developing self-awareness is that you need to find space to clear your brain and allow yourself to feel your feelings. And so this process isn't easy, but some things that you can do that help start the process is getting yourself 5 minutes in quiet or with some binaural beats to meditate. And what I mean by meditate is allowing yourself to think your thoughts and kind of taking like a mental picture of what are your thoughts, allowing yourself to feel your feelings and literally owning that. For so long, I didn't want to meditate because I can't clear my brain. I have all these thoughts coming in and out. I get too anxious sitting there. But what I've learned is that that is part of it. That is how you develop self-awareness. You can sit there. What are you thinking about? Is there something that just keeps popping into your brain that you're really worried about? Because that's helpful to know. That thing that you're really worried about might be causing underlying anxiety in your life in every situation, which can cause you to be more reactive to your spouse, more overstimulated by your kids, more irritable with your coworkers, all those kinds of things. But without giving yourself the space to think that thought and really dive into what that is, then you wouldn't know why you're lashing out at Sally because she just came to ask you a question. But in fact, it's because you're worried about something else that you've just been brushing off because you don't have the time. So another really helpful thing is journaling. If you sit down, and maybe it's more helpful for you to sit down like with a pen and a paper in your hand and start to write your thoughts down. When you start to write your thoughts down, then you can even go back and read them. Like, what was I thinking about? What was I worried about? Chances are you're worrying about a lot of stuff that you can't change, that you can't influence, that you can't impact. If you have worries that there is nothing you can do about the situation, then you need to let it go. Because having that worry on your heart is not going to help you show up as the best you. Maybe you're worried about someone who has really significant health problems. Worrying about their health problems isn't going to do anything for their health problems, and it's not going to help how you're showing up to the people in your life, especially not for them. Let go of those worries, and then you'll be able to have the space to hold compassion for them more, but then also for you. And so something else that's really important with developing self-awareness is once you give yourself time to meditate or journal, write it all out, get it out, because when you actually get it out of your body onto a journal or even speaking through it, if you are like me and you just like to talk, when it's out of your body, it literally releases that weight. And then it becomes something tangible that you can look at. Is there something that I can do about this situation? Yes. What is it? No. Okay, then I can just leave it here on this piece of paper and maybe I'll come back to it later, but maybe not, and that's okay too. So going back to our patterns of thought, when we think about what our self-talk is like and we think about the things that we're telling ourselves, then we're able to more identify where are we making mistakes in reaching our goals. Because if you're tearing yourself down, it's probably because you did something that didn't align with what your goals are. For instance, let's say you want to be better at managing money and then you go out to eat 5 days this week. And so now you're beating yourself up because you don't have any money. You always do this. You always make mistakes. You're never going to get better. Well, really, that just came down to the fact that your choices didn't align with your goals. And that's okay. That's in the past. It's done. But now you can have compassion for yourself and know that you are not the only person struggling with this. You are not the only person sitting here right now beating yourself up about something that they did in the past, even if it was just yesterday. And so you can sit there and know, like, it's okay to make mistakes. But the next time it comes to dinner, don't eat out. Don't spend that money because you're going to feel like this again. So having that compassion to know, like, you know what? I'm in training, I'm practicing something new, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm getting better, I'm gonna do better next time. It's okay to have that compassion for yourself in the exact same way you would for your friend. The next thing that's really important for developing self-awareness is to start to learn your patterns of behavior. Is there something that really just like irks you beyond belief? Is there something that someone says or something that someone does? For instance, do you get really pissed off when you're cut off in traffic? Or are you like, it's not even a big deal, I don't even care? Do you go and binge eat when you're feeling sad or anxious? Or do you go work out? When you figure out your patterns of behavior and you understand how they're connected to your feelings, then you're able to connect those dots within yourself. So then you can have compassion for yourself in those hard times. For me, I have struggled for years with overeating and binge eating when I'm feeling anxious, sad, or lonely. And that is not good. That's not healthy. It's not a good coping mechanism. But I didn't know that I was doing that until I gave myself time to really analyze my patterns of behavior. And once I started to see that this was in fact a pattern of behavior, then I started to try to figure out, one, why do I overeat? Like, why do I turn to food? But then two, why am I feeling anxious right now anyway? Why am I feeling sad right now anyway? Why am I feeling lonely right now anyway? Because when you figure out why you're actually feeling those feelings, then you're able to start to get to the root of the problem. And chances are the root of that problem isn't even in your control. And so you can take a deep breath and rest assured that it's okay. It's okay. It's going to get better. And you can be there for yourself as an ally to yourself. And that is the most important thing. So my last tip for building self-awareness is really figuring out, once you've meditated and once you have journaled or one or the other or whatever, you get to decide what you want out of your life. And when you begin to plan out what you want out of your life, then you can start to figure out, like, what am I doing? Because when you are living in a reactive mode, it is easy to have those feelings and those reactions, and they're just coming, and you got all these stimuli coming at you. You got kids, you got phones, you got social, you got husbands, you got friends, you got parents, you got coworkers, you got all these things, right? And when you're living in that reactive mode, then you're in survival. You are not planning for the future. You're not making rational choices that align with where you're going in the future, and you are struggling. And chances are, when you are in that moment, you're beating the heck out of yourself. You are tearing yourself down. And so once you start to have that time to sit with yourself and then start to plan your future, where are you going? What do you want? It doesn't have to make sense, but figure out what it is that you want. Then you can see where you're at right now and see if your choices and your habits even align with that. If I'm getting pissed off in traffic, am I still going to get where I'm going? Yeah, but I'm going to be angry about it. Or if I just chill and know I'm going to get cut off and there's going to be traffic, but I'm going to get where I'm going, then I'm able to like jam out in the car, listen to a podcast, and enjoy my trip and then get where I'm going anyway, but I'm happier about it. That's life. You're going wherever it is that you're going, but if you're angry and you're reactive and you're cutting yourself down, then your journey is going to be horrible. But if you hold compassion for yourself and you figure it out and you give yourself space to really dive into what you want, then that journey becomes a whole lot more pleasant and you get to be your best friend all along the way. So once you figure out where it is that you're going, you can start to figure out your choices, your habits, see if they align, make adjustments, and know that it is okay if you make mistakes because you have a second chance tomorrow to make a new choice, to try again, to practice to become the best you that you can become. And I promise you, with that practice, you're gonna get there. So I hope that you found value in this episode. If you did, tag me on Instagram because I love to hear who's listening at Calling Women Higher. And I'm so, so grateful that you were here today.